we love to feature Louisiana roots, a long chapter in Nashville, and the credibility that only comes from doing the work night after night. He's a singer, songwriter, guitarist, shared stages with some amazing artists, led bands in some of the best music rooms in the country, and written just a lot of songs over the years. He's back in Louisiana, still creating, still performing, just like with us this past Sunday night. Please help me welcome Mr. Rhett Anthony Glindmeyer.
What's going on, Ronnie?
What's up, brother? How are you?
Thank you.
That's Alex
Hello,
behind the
everybody.
scenes. I can't keep him acting right.
He can clap like a lot of people.
Oh, man. First of all, thank you for coming out and playing at the Manship, playing our show the other night. What a good time, man.
Yeah, it's awesome. I've been a part of it, essentially since the beginning, and it's great. It's just so nice to get to play in such a cool venue and have people come and sit and listen attentively to things that you've created and, labored on and tried to make the best that you can, just warm, reviews and just accolades and just the kindness people give back to you is just awesome. Just totally worth it.
No doubt about it, man. You crushed it too. You are from Prairieville, Louisiana. Let's start by, before we get into music, let's start by just talking about growing up in that area, that part of the state, and kind of what was growing up in that part of Louisiana like.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, when I was young at that point in time, Prairieville has really become a full-blown suburb of Baton Rouge, over the last, I don't know, 20-ish years, 20, 25 years. But, it was really country. I mean, for those that know the area, I mean, there was almost nothing on the airline other than the state fairgrounds from like the Prairieville post office and one store there till you got to Sherwood Forest Boulevard, which is a stretch of, I don't know, 9-10 miles or something like that. And I mean, there's just stuff all along the way now. It's grown up, but I mean, it was considered country, maybe not as rural as some other areas, but it was definitely a little Stixy back then. But yeah, I went to I actually, there was no high school. There's a Dutchtown High School now, but at the time, I had to go to high school in the city, Gonzales. I went to East Ascension High School, and from there, then on to L. So.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize Dutchtown wasn't there back then. So you had to get an EA.
Yeah. I kind of hit I think like when my mom was younger, they had a high school, and then for whatever happened, it was only, I guess primary, maybe like a kindergarten through 8th. And then it wasn't until after I, post my college career that they ended up opening the high school there now, and then just added another one, Prairieville High School. So we've got like it used to be Santa Moa and East Ascension in the area as far as the two rival high schools, and now it's up to 4. If that gives you any idea of how much the population's grown.
Crazy, man. Well, let's talk. Let's kind of talk about what got you into music and interested in music and all that. Did you have family members growing up, or how'd that play out?
Yeah, I mean, directly. I mean, my dad played keyboard, so I heard that from the time I was born. I remember fond memories of sitting under. He used to play, back before keyboards, compact keyboards were really a thing. He had the full-blown B3 organ that they carried around. Taking 3 or 4 guys to move that thing around with full on Leslie cabinet, and so I mean I heard that he played, he sang. I know his dad passed away when I was I think about 3, so I know he was musical in nature. He played piano as well, and then on my mom's side, I mean my mom can sing. She carries a tune well. Her brother, my godfather, plays guitar and does a lot of the older singer-songwriter country. He liked a lot of the outlaw country and the Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson back then, but just has a great knowledge of just older history of the old Louisiana hayride and those kinds of things. And so that side, my mom's dad played harmonica. So yeah, I think it comes from both sides of the family. And then I started playing keyboard. I wanted to, I guess, learn how to play. I was singing as far back as I can remember, but I took piano lessons when I was 6. And the piano teacher, was teaching you how to read music. And after a while, she told my mom, she's like, I can't teach him the way he's learning, because, I would knew immediately when I messed up, and that would really frustrate me. And she's like, he's learning by ear and not necessarily by reading the notes on the page. And I can honestly say, I thought I didn't realize the hours and hours of practice that it took to get really good and proficient at playing. I wanted to be as good as my dad, fast. And it was just, kind of frustrating. I hung up the keyboard. I think I took maybe 6 months to a year of lessons. And then I didn't really get back to an instrument side of it until I think I was 13. My dad had an old Epiphone acoustic in his back room, his work room. And he sat there, didn't play it. I was starting to come into, my musical adolescence and getting, really my own taste in music, and the rock thing was kind of happening, so I was like, man, guitar, sounds fun. It's not being used. And let me give it a shot again. And so I picked it up at 13, and I'm just, kept with it ever since. So.
Yeah. So with all of that music coming from both sides, you never stood a chance. you, you had to do it.
Right. It's all good. Yeah, it just served me well. It was just in me, man. I still love it, buddy. I know some people that get up there that play and learn and just kind of phone it in. And I can't say I've ever been maybe on the super slowest gig, and when it's just absolutely nobody there, you feel like nobody cares or whatever. You might just kind of, but I mean, I still care every time, and I try to give it, whether there's 10 or 100 people in the room. I sing like the song, like I care.
That's right. We got right here in the comments, we got John Schaefer said, "What's up, Rhett?" And then we got Mr. Crystal Blanc said, "Merry Christmas and
John.
Happy New Year to the both of you." So Merry Christmas to you guys too. Happy New Year.
Yo, back to you, sweet bro. Oh man. Yeah, hadn't seen him in a minute. So love you, Chris. Back to you,
yes,
buddy.
So you started playing guitar and all that. When did you have an idea that you might want to be a songwriter? When did that come along?
I seem to remember writing real early on, as opposed to being the one that just learns to cover things, which was, because I mean, Prairieville certainly being where it was at, most people were doing what's called the swamp pop thing, and that's mostly what my dad did. All the jitterbug and the old classic kind of 50s, Fats Domino-ish sounding things. And I can't say what it was that particularly made me want to write, but I do remember writing my first song. Not like once I got good enough, after about a year or two of guitar lessons, when I started to feel like I could move around a little bit and change chords, in a timely manner. I think I seem to recall writing my first song about 15. So wasn't real great and kind of simple. I mean, how much do you really know? Yeah, in general, yeah. Some people are really smart and real, worldly at a young age, but I just, but I don't know. I feel like I had a knack for melody and, just, I don't know. I've always felt like that's one of my strengths, understanding songs that in general people can relate to. And maybe not every single person, but, as an all around general fashion, if you care about music, I can tap into something that hopefully, you can at least listen to or appreciate on some level. So,
yeah, no doubt. Did you have any local artists around there that you kind of looked up to or followed coming up? Were there any older guys?
Oh man, I've gone through just phases I know, like as a guitar player, I mean, especially coming into that time. I mean, I was, let's say I hit my musical puberty and adolescence right around the early '80s. So it was the dawn of MTV, and I mean, I like, I was really into the, I mean, prior to that, it was what was on the radio, what my mom and dad listened to. I mean, from the very earliest, the vinyl we had, I listened to was that best of the Eagles. I don't remember the exact years. Was it 72 to 75 with the blue cover and all the, Line Eyes and Desperado and Take It Easy and all that on it.
Mhm.
And the rest was a lot of the Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, like I said, Linda Ronstadt, maybe, but what was on the radio. But anyway, once I kind of got to my own, hitting about 13 and picking up the guitar, had been exposed to rock. And so I was getting into, like Ace Frehley with Kiss made it look really, really cool with the fireworks and the makeup and all that. And I'm like, man, that looks really hip. And then the more you found out. So anyway, moving along, I mean, so I got, other than my dad being a main source of inspiration, or local people like the Van Broussards and stuff that were doing the swamp pop thing. I can't remember who I first saw doing the variety thing. I was one of the last generations that could get into a bar at 18 years old legally. And so I've been working and gigging since I was 18 in the bars. And man, I'm trying to think of back then, but I know they were doing variety because that's what we did, a little bit of swamp pop, but I know we started kind of trying to do a little bit more of just a bigger mix, just dance things, some of the funk, some of the rock, but other local players, I know, like guitar players at my earliest, Kenneth Kleinpeter was a local guy who could just shred. He's still playing in a local country band, I think over in the Livingston Parish area, but just a great player. I was at his house a bunch, just watching and learning. Another guy named Hoyt Whittington. They were like the kind of rock guys that could really, really rip it up and play. I never developed to that level of dexterity. I mean, I got to be I'm a pretty competent guitar player, and I can play, but those guys really were next level chops and things like that. And then so that's just on the guitar player side, and then the next one that really that I remember, like coming out of that when I started to get about 18, that would just kind of hit me. Teresa Henderson. I don't know if you knew the Henderson family at all, or Teresa.
I know of them.
Her and Bob, and yeah, fantastic, super, incredibly musically talented family. And she was on, I think she on Star Search and did really well back when that was happening in the 80s. She went on to do like a residency on Music City Tonight, which was on TNN back at the time. But anyway, she played locally and had a band, and it was all the local, the top-notch cats in the area. George Bitzer on keyboards and Randy Carpenter on drums. And then, but the guitar player was a guy named Joel Carr, and he was originally from Georgia, I believe. But man, he was just this. It's just hard to explain. He just like my old guitar teacher, Tad Kibbett, he was a package player. I mean, he just tone, feel, chops, could sing fantastically. And just, he was the first one to kind of tell me about that. Like, you don't always have to play full on chords, really helped me tune into little, what he called those ostinato patterns, just maybe small 2 or 3 note things that were doing little, the stuff in the back that isn't really, maybe the average listener isn't paying attention to because you're listening to the melody or the lyrics or something like that. But he really was one of the early ones that just blew me away. I went and saw him every chance I could. As well as Tereba and Bob, man, and Tereba's brother, Bob. I mean, Tereba sang so well, and Bobby could just, I mean, he could do the whole 2 saxophones at one time. He played saxophone as, one of the best, if not the best in the area. Played guitar as good as anybody else in the area. I mean, just phenomenal monster musicians. So those were the cats that I really kind of started dialing into on a local level. It's a long-winded way of answering your question, but that's kind of the local thing that was happening. And then into a few of the other bands, around that time, like Floyd Brown. Floyd Brown had a great band that was always playing around, and then there were other bands. I knew a little bit older, and Stormy was another local band, and they were doing the horn section, but more pop. Babyface and Michael Bolton at the time, and then had a guy that could sing it. guy named Stephen Futrell that was just a beast of a singer. So yeah, a lot of great influences locally that helped me learn, and that I learned more than anything by learning. You know, I'm not super studious. I know a little bit, about chords and a tiny bit of theory, but I would say primarily most of what I learned was from just observing and watching. If I picked up one or two things, that I could go home and learn and throw into my thing, it was great.
Yeah. I'm not sure what he's doing, but it's cool, and I know how to do it now, so I'll take it. Yes, right.
You're right. That sounds awesome, and I want to be able to do that.
Well, let's talk about going from Louisiana to Nashville and all of that. How old were you, and kind of what made you take that jump and all that? Because you did it for so long, and it's probably second nature to you now. But when you're young, and that's a big deal. So, what made you get the courage to do that?
Man, I had always kind of wanted to, and I had never really, other than, maybe going out and gigging overnight or something, strayed too far from home. You're making a good living and having a lot of fun in the area between Baton Rouge and, back then there were local places you could play, 4 or 5 nights a week, sometimes more, 6 or 7. And, I guess I just hit a point that I felt like I had done everything that I could do in the area or the region. Had another band that we did tried to get a record deal from here when Rascal Flatts and all that kind of started happening. It's like, man, let's kind of maybe try to do a local Eagles, Little Texas, Rascal Flatts kind of thing locally. And we got some regional interested in just without going way into it, things just kind of, the band and I parted ways. And so at that point I owned a bar, like a local bar that I was just trying to feel my way. I guess I was getting to the end of my 30s, and it's like, man, it was always in the back of my mind, and maybe that I knew I needed to get out and do it, either California or Nashville. And I just, didn't want to be as far away as the West Coast. Plus, I don't want to deal with earthquakes. I always said, you can at least get a heads up when a hurricane's coming. But after seeing the Superman movie and talking about when something hits the Andreas fault at the right time or something, that piece breaks off in the sea one of these days, I'm like, I don't want to chance that. So, and then as you're getting older, you're like, man, I think you can be a little older and the country music. I mean, I like country music. Like I said, I'm just a music fan in general. It doesn't, if it's musical in nature, I'm going to give it a shot. And I don't never really peg myself into one style or type of thing. But anyway, I would tell you that I think the determining factor, I had done about everything I could do. And I loved Martina McBride, and she played in Baton Rouge and went to a concert. And I saw her, and here was this little petite woman just singing her butt off. And I'm like, you know what? And I knew from doing some reading, she was from Kansas. And I'm like, man, at some point, she had to leave Kansas and go to Nashville, which was a whole lot further than, Baton Rouge to Nashville is only, like a work day's drive, 8 or 9 hours. And I'm like, if she could do it, I at least need to take a chance. So, and it also happened at the time I had a good buddy of mine, Trey Landry. I don't know if you know Trey. He's a great drummer. We played a lot of gigs together when we were younger. And he had moved to Nashville some years before. And at the time, he had a band with a group called Hot Apple Pie that got a record deal on DreamWorks Records. And killer band. I mean, the lead singer was a keyboard player from Little Texas. Brady Seals was like the front guy. Played keys, monster bass player named Keith Horn, who had played with Trisha Yearwood, Tanya Tucker, and plays like full on left-handed, really strung upside down, bass, and it just an absolute beast, and then can turn around and flat pick a guitar and play steel, and just as good of a musician as you could ever want to be, on top of singing his butt off. And so it was him, Trey, Brady, and then I think the guitar player was his nickname was Sparky. I want to say it was Mark Mateka, if I'm saying it right. And he actually later on went on to play with Leonard Skinner, but he was the original guitar player in the band. And anyway,
Wow.
they had a deal with DreamWorks, got produced by James Stroud, and did the Hot Apple Pie album. So anyway, but I know how things go in Nashville. I mean, you know, things come and go quickly, and a lot of times people get deals and you get shelved, you get put on the back burner, things change, people move. You know, we've all heard the stories and know how it goes. So it had just kind of started happening, and I'm like, you know what? You know, let me at least go now. I know somebody that's at least in the mix. Maybe it's a good foot. So I left. I think I had maybe I don't know if you know if I had $3,000 in my bank account, you know, which is more than a lot of people have. And probably a good, significant amount more debt, maybe about, you know, $13,000 in debt from a bar that had just tried to open it and within a month of being open, Katrina happened, and then at the end of that month, Rita happened. So man, it was just a rough time to try to open a bar with all the, you know, upheaval and thing that everybody was going through. And so anyway, I just said, man, so I saw the Martinez show. I'm like, you know, if she could do it, I can do it. And that's when I think I decided I'm going to do this. So I started kind of getting things together and went to live with Trey and his wife for about the first 2 weeks. I'm like, look, y'all, I swear I won't be in your hair any longer than is necessary. Just if I can just, you know, rent a room from y'all. It was just then they didn't have any kids yet. And I said, let me just get my foot in the door, just get the lay of the land. And so anyway, and they agreed to it. So I did. And no job leads or nothing, just blindly going on faith and the belief that, you know, my musical talent would get me somewhere. And so I got to town, and then I think it was I guess the impetus for everything that led to my house gig. I went down, I talked to a few people, you know, they told me names. I know locally Bubba Plochet told me about a guy named Jeff Reed that I needed to talk to. I know we talked a little bit about Jeff the other night at the writers thing, but yeah, Jeff, he was doing the writing thing and knew people. And then another couple friends said, go meet these cats on Broadway at Tootsie's. And so I did and sat in. But I actually went out to see, I can't explain exactly why. I just knew something in my brain told me, if, you know, I know you're familiar with Nashville. For the people that are not, there's an area called Midtown, and it is between the main Broadway downtown strip, and it is right next to Vanderbilt. And it was only just a couple blocks from Music Row, 2 or 3 blocks from Music Row. So I'm like, in my brain, I'm like, there's got to be a lot going on right here. I think Broadway is going to be kind of like the Bourbon. And I had heard that, you know, you could gig there, but it wasn't always the most advantageous place to play for things to happen. It can, but I just thought the closer I am to Music Row and right here by Vanderbilt, I had been used to playing the college crowds and like that because I did a place. I don't know if you ever got to go to the Catering in Baton Rouge, but I had a Monday night residency. I did it for about 9 years. I did the Catering on Monday nights, and we had a great band and a great thing going there. So I just said, you know, this seems like the kind of area that, you know, that would kind of be the most similar to where I've come from and where I could feel like I could get, you know, something could happen. And so I went to have coffee. There was a place called Corner Pub, and I just went to have coffee. I went to actually go watch. It was the Saints versus the Falcons in the Dome, the first game on Monday Night Football back in the Dome after Katrina. It was 1 year later.
Block.
Do you need me to stop? What's that?
The punt block. I think there's a punt block in the first quarter.
Oh, the punt block. Right. Yeah. So I just went by myself, and I sat and I had a cup of coffee, and I just got to talk to the waitress, and I'm like, do y'all have music here? You know, I'm just new to town, looking to gig. And, you know, I mean, I know, you know how many times, you know, you give out a card to people, and, you know, 99.9% of the time it gets thrown away, forgotten about, you know, you hear nothing. And anyway, but I just, you know, I didn't want to spend a lot of money. I was trying to stretch it as long as I could for what I had, not knowing when I was going to get work regularly. And gave her a card, and she's like, well, my boyfriend plays right on the next block over at a bar called Losers. And she said, and one of the owners of the Losers is George Strait's manager. And I'm like, oh, here we go, you know. So you not knowing how accurate that is or not, but anyway, so I gave her the card, and she said, I will tell him to call you. And I tipped her $5 on a cup of coffee. And lo and behold, it was either that night or maybe the next day, I get a call. And so she's like, hey, you know, you were in last night. This is my boyfriend, Tony. Talk to him. And so I talked to a guy named Tony Phillips, who was from originally from Michigan, right outside of Detroit. And he was, I guess, essentially the band leader. He had won like the Jimmy Dean Country Showdown, whatever national thing, and had some record interest. I know Frank Liddell, who is married to now, I don't know if he was at the time married to Leanne Womack, and was working with went on to work with Miranda Lambert, and he definitely had some clout and was doing some things in the industry. Frank was working with Tony, and he had some things going on. And so anyway, he's like, yeah, man, I just told him my story, what I could do. And he's like, well, come on by. And so so I did. So I went, and Losers at that point in time had only been open about I think 6 months. It had opened in April, and I got to town in September of 2006. And from what I understand, I don't know, don't ever have complete verification on this, but from what I was told of the stories I heard, it was kind of like a seedy era, and it might have been even been like an adult kind of video toy shop. It was just kind of surprising that close to Vanderbilt that there would be that kind of thing. But nonetheless, they had tried to revamp it, and it was just kind of getting off the ground. But like I said, well, I knew, you know, and it was legit. I mean, Irv Woolsey was one of, and Steve Ford, another guy named Chuck Johnson, who was an owner who ended up getting bought out a couple of years later. But the main two owners were Steve Ford and Irv Woolsey, and Irv was the manager of George Strait's entire career. So he had a lot of friends. Steve was a local that had a lot of friends there. And so between those two, the location, it was kind of like a perfect storm of a place. And anyway, I went in, I sat in, and it was just three of them. It was Tony, and Tony just played rhythm guitar and could sing left-handed, but just played rhythm and sang. Good country singer. Irv's son, Clint, was playing there. And he did a little bit of lead, but mostly rhythm, and did a lot of like the alt country. He was the first one to expose me to Drive-By Truckers and Lucero and bands like that. Some of that alt country thing. But really, you know, just a cool vibe. Clint's got a band now called Stone Center that's doing well. And then there was another guy who was very, very stereotypical Texas country guy named Preston Coley. And he had the cowboy hat, the starched Wranglers, and just, you know, the slow, you know, he did a few fast things, but a lot of just, the crying in your beer country all night long. And he was the main kind of lead player. And so anyway, I guess I sat in. They got me to sit in, and I did a few things. I think I did come on, Clint Black, Better Man, and maybe Sister Golden Hair, just to kind of show a little variety. And anyway, it went well. I mean, I did well. They had like a really not good PA that they were using, kind of a piece together. It looked like maybe a couple of different speakers. I mean, just over in the corner. And like I said, Losers. The wall wasn't there yet, man. It wasn't there yet. So, still, yeah, I mean, people would come up, you know, and I mean, they could bump your microphone and pop you in the mouth. And oh gosh, that's one of the main reasons that wall ended up getting built. But it was just, it hadn't gotten its feet yet, but it did have, you know, like I said, it had a lot going for it in almost every area. And so, but once they saw what I did, Tony, you know, I think he called me a night or two later. I didn't go back because I was kind of just still trying to look around. They didn't offer me a gig that night, but a day or two went by, and Tony called me again. He's like, man, said, you think you might could come back by and play some more, you know? So I'm like, yeah, sure, buddy. I'm down. I'd love to. I'm looking for any exposure and work I can get. So I did. I went back, and I think after the second or third time of doing that, Tony went and he approached the owners, Steve and Irv, and said, look, you know, they were making $50 a man plus tips a night for a 4-hour gig. I think it was 9 to 1 is where it started. And it was Wednesday through Saturday. And he said, man, do you mind if we add a fourth for $50 a night? So I did. My first legitimate Nashville gig became a house gig. The original Losers. They've had a couple other locations, and there's one downtown now, but it's the one on Division. That's Midtown. That's the original location. And from there, it just slowly it grew. I mean, within about a year, maybe about a year and a half, 2 years, Tony's like, hey, we were all acoustic. And I forgot that part, that I did have some better PA. I brought a pretty solid little PVPA with me. That was definitely better than what they were using. PV road tested. I mean, it just died hard. So, I brought my PA, kind of like the David Lee Roth story with Van Halen. He got the gig mainly because he had PA. But anyway, I brought it in and got the gig. And it went well, man. It just grew from there. And about 2 years in, Tony's like, hey, I think we really ought to start trying to do a band at least 2 or 3 nights a week, just to kind of start competing with the Broadway thing. And so we did the front part of the week. I think we had added maybe another night or so at that point, maybe Tuesdays. And I play electric guitar as well. So we added a couple guys, made it a band, and started doing the full band on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And it just grew from there, and it just became, one of the places. And then just more and more, you'd see the stars and the industry people that would come and hang out, and we're really digging it, and and just liking what we were doing. I think the other night I thought it was funny. On the Monday night, they had an all acoustic act, and it was John Party and Drake White were two of the Monday night guys. Yeah, maybe that was the night I should have did, because they ended up having some more, a little more success than I did in as far as cuts and national releases and whatnot. But nonetheless, that's kind of I know it's been long winded, but that's the story of kind of how it went on.
No, I was going to say, for the people that don't know, I mean, if you go to Losers now, it's a madhouse. But back then, it was really like kind of a hole in the wall, like a dive, very small, and you never knew who was going to walk through the door. I mean, so I think it's safe to say that a lot of very famous people have heard you play. I mean, they've walked through and you're playing. I don't know how many people can say that they've played and sang in front of that many famous people and that many talented people. Maybe not even famous, but you're like, holy crap, that dude's so talented, and I'm having to play for him or whatever, So that's kind of a unique perspective right there, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, man. We had, a lot of really cool regulars, especially on their way up. You can call it name dropping a will, but just for the sake of being interesting and letting people know. I mean, I like to say it's not necessarily name dropping if it's the truth, Yeah. And, I mean, we had, I never did get to meet George. I never did meet George. He had, he was kind of like the Elvis of country music. So I'm sure he had to be really careful about when and where he showed up in public. But, I mean, like Chris Young was I got to sing with Chris Young many times. Randy Houser, Jamie Johnson. Jamie would come in, and you'd almost have to kind of get the guitar back from Jamie once he'd get in there and get going. He just loved it. He'd sit up there and just play and sing. And my gosh, I know if you go on, I think if you go look at Losers Nashville or Rhett Anthony Nashville, there's still some clips floating around. I mean, I know Toby Keith played with Toby a few times, Blake Shelton, Darius Rucker. I guess I'll tell you about two of the coolest moments since we're on this.
Yeah.
Well, three. Let me start off with one of the coolest ones. So before I left up there, I did about a little over a year, or the very end of 1999 through the early part of 2001. I played with Wayne Toops down here. I was just a rhythm. In fact, took Bob Henderson's place, not musically so much, but I became a secondary guitar player, harmony singer, acoustic player with Wayne. And we did this blues cruise right after New Year's a couple years in a row, and Delbert McClinton hosted it. And it was just like a bunch of people like Delbert McClinton, Asleep at the Wheel, Rodney Crowell, Michael McDonald even did it one year. And just it's a really cool thing. And you're on a boat, and you're an artist, so you're getting to meet all these cats. So I got to meet and know the guys from Asleep at the Wheel, especially the keyboard player, John Michael Whitby. and the fiddle player, Jason, I forget, was it Jason Robards? Jason, not, I can't remember Jason's last name off it, but fantastic fiddle, great music. In fact, John Michael went on from playing with Sleep at the Wheel to playing with George's Ace in the Hole band. But I don't know, we just from on the bus rides to and from the boat and things. I mean, I got to know John and we stayed in touch. And anyway, they were in town one night, I think playing the Ryman. And they would, I mean, then they knew Irv. They were all Texas guys. That's where Irv was from, Texas. Yeah. So they came in and they stopped to park the bus out on Division Street right out front and came on in. And John Michael was like, Rhett. And so anyway, he introduced me to Ray Benson, who runs the band and was, essentially is the face and the writer and the voice of Asleep at the Wheel. And so Ray Benson, at one point, he came to come sit in and come play. And I'm like, man, I'm gonna go ahead and get up because these cats are out of my league as far as playing, And he's like, no, man, sit down, play along. And so I thought that was very cool of him. So I got to play along with Ray Benson, which was just a super sweet, really, really great, validating moment that, he thought enough of me to say, hey, man, no, go ahead and hang out instead of, to use an English phrase, bugger off, kid. But okay, so that's one. There were many, but that was one that kind of stuck with me. Next one was there was a point in time where for Kenny Chesney's birthday, he would go bar hopping around Nashville. I don't know how many years he did that, but it was just known that he would do that. So I remember it was a Wednesday night and one of our guys was not there. And so for whatever reason, I had ended up normally where I would be sitting, I was on the end. And anyway, but we're sitting there. I mean, it's just a kind of a fair, okay Wednesday night. And then all of a sudden it was, and the main room is not very big. I mean, you could see pretty much everything that's going on. And you got a straight shot at the main entrance. And then all of a sudden I see, Kenny Chesney, Tim McGraw, Faith Hill, Roger Clemens, the baseball pitcher, Kelly Pickler, the vice president of Sony Music at the time, Renee Bell, just all coming in a line. And we're just like, oh my God, this is how cool is this? So, and they hung out for a little while and you could tell, they weren't feeling a whole lot of pain. And I'm sure had maybe a couple stops before. And so, but obviously, you're like, hey, do y'all want to come play a song, And so they did. So Kenny and I mean, Kenny and Tim that came up. And so let's just do something like a Merle Haggard or something like that. And so Kenny Chesney is sitting next to me. And he's like, man, what's this card right here? What's this card before the song? I'm showing Kenny the card. And this is a guy, I swear to God, this is one of the funniest things. I tell this story all the time. He's like, McGraw, sing the harmony. And Tim McGraw turned around and he's like, man, I got enough trouble with the melody. And so, yeah. But we did it. And I remember, I think it was Mama Tried, and I hit the lick. And Faith Hill was like standing there. She's like, yeah. And I thought that was cool, And so, it wasn't, I'm not going to say it was the most musical moment, but there were a lot of face points, value points for just from them being up there and people are, going, the ones that were there were like, oh my God, and taking pictures. And I just didn't have anybody there that I knew. Hey, can you get me a picture? It was kind of in the days right before smartphones were really a thing. But I do know this. I mean, we had some pretty good tips, and I saw McGraw reach in his pocket. McGraw, like I know him, Tim McGraw, and reach in his pocket, and I saw him drop, and it would look to be like $100, maybe $200 in, and we were ecstatic. I'm like, man, So end of the night comes. It was great and all. I go to count out tips, and I kid you not, man. He had put, let me see, it was $4,200. That's right, $4,200. 42 $100 bills in a wad in the thing. So that plus all the additional tips that we made, it was like right at $4,500. So for three of us, we made $1,500 a piece in tips that night. So that was like a super I was running around doing the happy dance and just screaming and woo, because I had finally, and I think it should be said that after 2 weeks, I had moved out of my friend's house and had found an apartment right at the edge of, I think it was Natchez Village. It was like a studio apartment for $650 a month. You know, it was a room pretty much. That's it. I mean, there wasn't much there, but it was a place to stay and get out of my buddies, you know, get out of their business. And then I would say probably one of the, you know, if I would say there was a pinnacle, it was closer. I'd say right. You know, if I was there from 2006 to 2017, I don't remember the exact year, but Zach Brown had done a project. The Zach Brown Band did a project with Dave Grohl. I think it was called the Dave Grohl Sessions, and they did 4 or 5 songs on an EP. And Zach at this point had bought a studio, Southern Ground Studios, which was right up around the corner. I mean, it wasn't. You could walk there. It was maybe max 3 blocks away. And so somehow Zach had found he came in pretty. I'm not going to say maybe not as regular as like the Chris Youngs and them that were there, but Zach hung out. If he was in town and available, you know, he was there several times. I definitely got videos and stuff of me playing with them. But anyway, they were so after this project that year, they did the CMAs, which were always in November, and with that and Dave Grohl and then Dave Grohl played with them at the CMAs. And after the CMAs, we were the band playing, and they came by losers, the whole crew. So it was, and then at one point, so they all came and we got them sitting, and it was the Zach Brown Band, Dave Grohl on drums, and Oteil Burbage, the bass player from the Allman Brothers, and all on stage. And I got to do one song with them. And my guitar was in the corner, and I mean, I could have reached out and touched it. I was right next to the drum set, so I got to jam with Dave Grohl just right there, and it was really surreal. You know, it was like the pinnacle culmination of like some of the coolest people you could ever play with from these different genres of music. And then I let, you know, I think there's another guy that got up and played guitar with him. And then so I got off, but then Dave Grohl got out from behind the drums and he played on my guitar, which was really, I've got a really cool picture of him jamming on my guitar. And then one little other cool thing at the end. So my buddy Tony, we had been doing Nirvana, the unplugged thing that they did, which was really popular. I guess they did it in the early 90s or something. The MTV thing that was so popular in that concert that they did. And the name of the song escapes me. It's the one about my girl, you know, through the pines, you know. And at the end, he goes up and is screaming at the octave, my girl, Anyway, so we were doing that song. Tony he was a Nirvana fan, and we had been doing that sometime before that. So, you know, the whole sit-in thing with Dave and Zach Brown had kind of wrapped up, and they were heading back to the back, which was kind of roped off, like the VIP section. And so Tony goes, man, let's play that song. Let's play that song. So we did it, and I kid you not, Dave Grohl was walking to the back room. He stops and he turns around and he just looks and he starts kind of slowly nodding his head. And when it got to the part where Kurt takes it up to the Dave jumps on the mic and grabs and does the and it was like, wow. It was like just the coolest. I mean, what an extraordinary, you know, night. And so, anyway, that's just some of my really fun, really memorable moments there from you know, all my years there.
Those are amazing stories, man. That's why I wanted to talk about that part of your chapter, because I mean, that's a really unique, you know, whenever I was preparing for the show, it's a really unique perspective to play for the people that are that talented. You know what I mean? It's got to be a little bit of pressure involved, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you're not kidding, you know, because with so many people coming in, it was never demanded of us. But I mean, being the house band there and being the guitar player, especially in Guitar Town, you know, and with so many people, you kind of felt like you should at least know, you know, when you want to get these people to sit in, you don't want to go, hey, come sit in. I don't know any of your songs, you know? Yeah. So, in fact, I remember playing Don't You by Brett Eldredge right when he had just released it, and he was standing right by the bathrooms, and I had no clue, never seen him, liked the song, just worked it up, and about a verse in, there's a group of people going, this is him. This is him. You know, and when I figured it out, I'm like, well, come on up. And he finished the song on out. But right, man, just having to, you know, kind of knowing back all these cats up. And if I will, I mean, I one of my strengths is I learn fast and I can observe. So most of the time, most of these cats they could at least play guitar. So if they did it a time or so, I kind of had the gist of what was going on, you know, as long as it wasn't fusion jazz, but most of it was, you know, 3/4-ish chord country. And plus you kind of hearing the song on the jukebox and around town. So, you know, I might have not known all the exact signature parts, but we did, you know, you're right. There is a certain amount of maybe your own pressure just to, yeah, man, because you want to impress them. You want them to come back, and they were. And I mean, I swear, I remember Cole Swindell coming one night, standing right in front of me. You know, one of my trademark things that I do is Prince. I have a really strong falsetto, and I get compliments on my Prince material all the time. And Cole Swindell's like, man, I brought people from Georgia here to see you, bro. Do that Prince for them, you know? So it's like it was all around you. I mean, you know, there's people from, I mean, at the top of the people from Columbia and Sony and, you know, Curb Records are there. Doug Johnson, I guess. I mean, who was and wrote 3 Wooden Crosses, and Keith Stegall, who was from Shreveport and produced all of, you know, almost all of Alan Jackson stuff, and Zach Brown, and wrote, you know, We're in This Love Together, and Don't Rock the Jukebox, and I Hate Everything, and on and on and on. You know, I remember him complimenting my guitar, and that's what I say. So it's really cool that it was all around you, and a little frustrating because it's like, come on, man, you know, whether I get a record deal or not, I feel like, you know, and I was writing songs because I loved it. I mean, and you got people around you loving what you're doing, and yeah, I don't doubt that with the right recording of the right set of circumstances, I've got a hit in the batch. But it's just so darn difficult, especially without. I don't come from money, and I never did have a. You know, you just got to have either money of your own, do it on your own, or some type of financial backer. And I just never found my way to that place, you know. So, and it's all good. I mean, your path is your path, and I'm good with the way things have gone out. I have a wonderful life right now, and like I said, I'm sure we'll get to it about, you know, the one or couple of cuts that I did get, but I mean, but no,
let's dive into that. That's kind of a good transition into that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had several independent cuts. I know there was an independent guy named Jamie Stever up in Canada that cut a song that we wrote, This Life Ain't For Everyone, which is kind of the motto of Losers. We kind of changed it just a hair, but I mean, he did one. I know even before I left, I wrote when I was with the band, the Hip Boot Joe I was talking about earlier. We had some interest. There was a lawyer in Jackson named Mike Frascona who he negotiated Three Doors Down's deal whenever they started breaking with Kryptonite on the coast. And so anyway, he was also handling and working with a gospel group called the Williams Brothers. And at the time, the Oh Brother Where Art Thou thing was blowing up. So they want us to write like a bluegrassy thing. So I came up with this hook idea. Used to love to go play disc golf. I remember me and my buddy Sean were out at the disc golf course. It was just free fun exercise. And I was out on the disc golf course, and I don't know why. And I just came up with, you know, Get Saved. Anyway, the long and short of it, we got together. We wrote this very bluegrassy song called Get Saved. It got passed to the Williams Brothers, who I think they were on Sony. You know, they had kind of, you know, without being disrespectful, I mean, I think if anybody's honest, they had passed their prime at that point, but they were still, you know, nonetheless significant, recognized, you know, gospel artists that had a major label deal at once. And they had their own label called, I think, Blackberry Records. And anyway, so they cut the song. We got to do the song with them. So that was kind of one of the earliest semi, if you will, major artists that did a song that I had come up with and was involved when writing. And then, like I said, and then in Nashville, I wrote a song. I think I told this story the other night. David Bornay, who was on the show, and we were playing in Losers one night, and this writer named David, his name's David, he goes by D period, Vincent Williams, and he was a writer on James Otto's Just Got Started Loving You. I think Billy Gilman, Oklahoma. And his biggest one was I'm Moving On by Rascal Flatts. I think it won Song of the Year that year. And he heard us and he's like, man, I love what you guys are doing. Can we get in a room and write together? So we wrote, the first thing we ever wrote was this song called Where You Belong. And David recorded it on his EP, Break My Heart. And then I know he had a lot of friends, obviously, from having the Cuts. And he knew Keith Burns from Sugarland. And Keith was working with the sister act called Presley and Taylor. And they were still independent because it was Keith Burns and James Stroud producing. And they cut the song Where You Belong. They took a verse out. And I mean, I can understand why. There's nothing wrong with the verse, but just for their purposes and their thing, I kind of see why they did it, maybe for time purposes as well. Nonetheless, they did it. I think it did maybe, 30-ish, 40-ish on the medium market charts, never made a stir, but that was kind of another, somewhat significant cut. And then, but it wasn't until, I'll say I wrote a song with Rick Huckabee, who was a writer on Muddy Waters, Trace Atkins, Beer with Jesus, Thomas Rhett. I know he's written with CJ a few things. And me and him and a guy named Jeremy McComb wrote this song called Didn't We? And we were just trying to channel. I think Jeremy came and said, man, what if like Bob Seger or Bruce Springsteen was writing a country song? How can we, that was at least the mindset we were going into it with. Just how can we somewhat, if that infiltrates our ideas at all. And so we came up with this song, Didn't We? And Jeremy put it out. I am not too sure somebody else didn't cut it out there. I know Jeremy did a version, an independent version, but it wasn't until, I had moved back from Nashville, in 2017, it wasn't until about 3 or 4 years after I had moved away from Nashville. I felt like I had done everything I could do there. Like I was just chasing the carrot. I was tired of it. I'm like, man, I don't think anything's going to change, and I have to make something change if I want to see something else happen other than the same old cycle of events. Go play, get the shots brought to you all night, and just no breaks or barely a break. There was no, hey, we're going to be back in 15, 30 minutes. It's like your break was somebody sing a song while you go run to the bathroom and grab a drink and get back, And then, but anyway, I had been home about
dirty bathroom back then.
Yeah, the only one. You're right, man. You remember. Yeah, they definitely added some since then with seriously needed. But yeah, there was just one bathroom with one toilet, man. And it was, oh God, brutal. But anyway, but yes. And once I got home, because Rick had, he had played with Tanya Tucker and he was in Tracy Lawrence's band, and he had a publishing deal with Tracy Lawrence. And I think we demoed the song. He got it to Tracy. Tracy loved it and originally wanted to pitch it to Tim McGraw. He tried to pitch it to Tim, and I could really hear Tim doing it as well. Man, we're like, Tim would crush this. And Tim supposedly put it on hold, but nothing ever materialized with a version from him. His next album came out and it wasn't on there. And so anyway, fast forward to me being home about maybe 4 years. And I get a call from Rick Huckabee one day, which was kind of odd. I hadn't heard from Rick and nothing bad, just didn't have him out of the mix up there. And he's like, man, he said, Tracy revisited that song and he really wants to cut it for Tracy was doing this series of albums called, Hindsight 2020. And he had done volume 1 and volume 2. He was working on volume 3. And basically he was recutting or cutting new versions of some of his biggest classic hits, as well as adding some new material. So ours was one of the songs that he wanted for the new material. So it's on his Hindsight 2020 volume 3. But it is the lead off track on that album. And he did a fine job on it. I'm just super proud. Like I said, the other night at the show, it's the song that, finally allows me to say, a significant major country artist has cut one of my songs, so.
Heck yeah, man. And Rick's a great dude too, man. I love him. And
he really is.
I'm laughing at, well, first of all, Written on the River says, enjoyed watching you Sunday night. And then Barry Baker says, what up, Rhett? And then
Barry was a manager and worked at Losers.
He said, so he was talking about the bathroom. He said, yes, sir. And then Bubba Ploshay jumps in and said, "You had women using it too."
Yeah, they were both single seaters, man. It was,
Yeah.
gosh, it was a time.
Oh man, no, that's
I'm not gonna
that.
say.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I was just gonna say I'm not gonna say maybe the bathroom ever got used, either next door or outside sometimes in a pinch or in an emergency, but uh, but for the most part, you could get in within a couple. There might have been, I think it was two, like maybe a men's and a women's, and there was one maybe kind of unisex bathroom. So at least you had at least another option, but you're right. But it wasn't like a couple people go in at a time, especially man, when it would get packed and hot and you got to, try to, especially if you want to grab a drink. Oh man.
I definitely, I got my drink after I used the bathroom.
Right. Smart man.
But man, so and I'm not going to keep you all night, man. Just a couple more questions and I'll let you out of here. But I appreciate you coming on and sharing. But I was just thinking about your journey, man. And in a world now, you and I came up in a different world without, we're in the technology world now, but we're adults without it. And like kids going viral on TikTok and all that now. So we know the pros of that. They can get their music out to all of that. But what do you think some of the things that they might be missing out on for having to sit there and play those 4-hour gigs and, jump down and use that bathroom like we were talking about? What are some of the things that they're going to miss because of that?
That's a tough question, man. All I can say from, I guess what's traditionally called as being in the trenches is, for me personally, it was learning how to play, musically. And that is just the best analogy I ever heard was it's like a conversation. And if everybody is talking, you can't understand or decipher the content of what's going on. And the melody and the singing thing in basic popular music songs that's numero uno. That's what's got to shine. That's what most people are locking into, other than maybe a more select group. And that's maybe musicians are paying attention to the other stuff. But primarily, by and large, for the average music listening public, the main melody and is what's going on. It's the top of the pyramid, and then everything else kind of needs to support that. And so, but if everybody, I've been played around bands and mini bands, and guys are just playing and looking out. Some people never learn it, but I do like to believe that I learned how to, let this person have this set of holes over here. It's okay to just, sit back and let some chords ring, or sometimes lay out completely, if that's how the record was produced. So I think, just learning how to, the act of, working an audience, a crowd, learning a flow of music, what might kind of hit or happen right now, are they into it yet? If not, maybe play some more chill stuff, or they're not quite dancing yet. So don't hit them with all your main, your top dog, big, all the stuff everybody wants to hear, unless it's maybe something that's a little bit more chill, but certainly not, your main thick of the night party dance, everybody's going crazy kind of thing, so learning how to pace yourself, pace a night, and just getting life on you. I think that serves you well. Just having just life in general, to apply. I think it gives your songs another layer of depth and like I said, if you can write from a place of truth, that's what they always, the motto, the 3 chords and the truth. Although I tended to do 4, 5, 6 chords in the truth a lot of times in my writing, but nonetheless, and then that, like I said, cats that because they may never get it if you get a lot of quick success, but don't understand what it takes how to treat a band right, or what it really means to work with a group of other people, or how to work an audience. It can be and has been deadly, to a lot of people's career. And then the whole AI thing and all that's a whole nother realm of where things are going. Amazing and kind of strange and weird at the same time too, as far as the future of live music,
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. I guess one last Nashville question is just kind of looking back. What would you say your the memories that stand out? What if you had to just pick one or two, not maybe events, but just the memories or what means the most to you from your years there?
Yeah, I'll try to make it. I mean, certainly the Losers gig in and of itself, just with all the artists that I got to play with over that stretch of time that respected my talent, reciprocated it, with that I got to share the stage with, that were just cool, treated me not like a peon. Maybe there might have been. There's always a handful that maybe are kind of full of themselves and or maybe aren't the most gracious to you, but for the most part, I thought, man, it's a cool. Everybody was that hospitality era of the South was kind of there in general, I found. And a lot of people, and I guess it is cutthroat to a certain extent, but I never took it from that angle, man. I had a great time. I got to play a lot of great music, with a lot of great players, not just the stars, but just the players, the other guys in the trenches that are doing it, I did get a publishing deal at one point in time. Irv Woolsey did have me on a publishing deal. For about maybe a year and a half. I didn't get any major cuts out of that, but it was still something nice to have on the resume to say I had the legitimate Nashville publishing deal. I also the writer D. Vincent Williams I told you about. He started his own entertainment company with some Nashville all-stars, and every facet of the band had some type of resume with either who they had recorded with or toured with. And I mean, it's just monster players. And I got asked to be part of that band, which was for not having a whole lot of, maybe some street cred because of my Losers gig and the people that I played with there. But other than doing some background vocals on one of Andy Griggs's, he did this thing, I think for the Sandy Hook shootings, called 20 Little Angels. And I got to go sing background on that. But to go be part of that band and get to play with, we backed up. There was the coach of the Kentucky women's basketball team at the time was a singer, so we got to go up and do some shows with him around Kentucky and out at Scottsdale, Arizona, some real nice resorts, and just meeting people from other walks of life that were also really, really successful, and just getting to play with those kind of cats of players that took it seriously and playing at a really nice professional level. I would say that's some of my probably, and the ones I tell you, man, that's, my most favorite memories of that.
Yeah, those are awesome, man. Mark Cheney just popped in and said, happy holidays to you all.
Man, same to y'all, Mark. Hope all's well, buddy. Thank you.
How are you enjoying being back in Louisiana?
Man, I love it, brother. I'm really into personal growth. I have been for a long time. And during my degree in LSU was psychology. I'll give you a little bit of that side of my life. I worked halfway through a master's in mental health counseling, and I love the knowledge, but when it came time to put it into practice, I was playing music and I was at the catering. It was the 90s. It was jumping and happening. I'm like, man, music is my passion and that's what I'm going for. But I love the knowledge. So, I mean, I had, like I said, the bachelor's in psych, the halfway through a master's in mental health counseling. And I've always been one to like to read books and things. Maybe not an avid reader, but from time to time, it was always nice to get a book I heard about or something that was kind of causing a stir, because I was curious about just how the mind works and why people kind of act and do the way they do and things that we all go through different variations of the same thing. And so just how can you alleviate that suffering or look to other avenues or have a toolbox to pull from to help you in those times and dark times and troubling times that everybody goes through. And that's what's always fascinated me. So during COVID, I got a life coaching certification from Anthony Robbins' online program. And I thought for a minute I might do the life coaching thing. And again, when it just learning it, but coming to actually putting it into practice in a full blown open your doors to the general public kind of, there's a whole other set of responsibilities and just things that comes with that I just didn't know that I wanted to have to deal with. I love talking to anybody that's interested about it and passing along little wonderful nuggets. In fact, I have a page on Facebook called Positivity's a Plus. And anybody out there looking to just get yeah, it's just a good daily, I try to post at least once a day, just a good perspective thing. Not necessarily, I don't knock religion, but I didn't want it to be I didn't want it to alienate anybody because of their religious beliefs. I would love to welcome people of beliefs of all faiths or no faith that just needs some this world perspective about how can I think about things differently or shift, from the things that I've learned. And so just that's kind of one of my gifts back to the world. And but I think I was starting to tell you is just one of the things I've learned along the way is, man, I believe we have if you really are truly honest with yourself and your internal compass, and there's something way inside of that'll kind of tell you what you need to do or where you should be headed. Whether you act on it or not is a whole different ball game. That the key is action. But there is that internal compass. And that's what I was telling you. I had hit that point at Losers where I was there for like 11 years. I'm like, man, I'm just like spinning my wheels. It's the same thing over and over and over and over again, and nothing is happening. So, and I just felt like I'm like, let me go home. I'm like, the world is growing with social media, with the YouTubes, with all that stuff. And like you said, the social media is growing with TikTok wasn't around just yet, but yeah. I was like telling myself, let me go home and focus on the things that really matter. My folks were getting to, they're towards the back at the end of, side of their lifespans. And I'm like, let me go spend some last good years with my folks and just focus on the things that matter. And so I did. I mean, I came home, I just started playing. I got in a band out of New Orleans. And going back to why, I mean, yes, my internal barometer was right because just before COVID was happening, my dad and I, we had never wrote a song. And my dad had an idea, and he's like, son, why don't, we should get together and write a song. And we actually did. So we finished a song, and it was just a really cool, moment thing to have that we had never done. And then within, it wasn't much longer after that, he contracted COVID, and he didn't get the vaccines, whether that would help or not. And he passed away in October of 2021. So it just really validated, why I came home, and like, yes, that's one of the main reasons. So I got to write a song with my dad before he passed. And then also I found who was, just an amazing woman that I started dating a few years ago, and is just an incredible compliment to my life, Farrah, who was in the other room and probably watching and listening. And I just love her dearly. And it's just, things are clicking in all areas very, very well in life. I have found a very happy medium. I wish the best for all the music industry. I have my own personal concerns about just where things are headed and how, what state is live music going to survive in, because it's getting harder and harder to find venues to go play. And you don't see all the spots that you used to see bands play like you used to, and on a local level anyway. Nashville's more jumping than it's ever been. And there's certainly pockets and things and people that are making it work, but it's just getting more and more difficult. So, I got out of the band thing. I'm just doing mostly my solo acoustic thing, so I can control my own schedule primarily. I'm not opposed to filling in with a band, but I'm just tired of the band life aspect of it. I'm hitting, I'll be straight up. I'm about to be 55 years old, and I needed to get set up for retirement, looking at trying to spend the back half of my life just wisely, and not, just being the old dude still trying to chase the record deal, and I was like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, if the songs get cut, great. And, so I'm working for the state now during the week and playing music, and a great relationship. So I have found a really good, and I'll pass on another little tidbit of just a good mantra that I learned along the way from the positive, personal growth stuff is, whatever gardens you want to flourish in life, you have got to water them, whether it's your job, your relationship, all of it. And I at least right now, I feel like I found a pretty good balance of all of it. So yeah, no, I have no regrets, man. And you still get to do shows like we did at the Manship. And, I hear from my buddies, and who knows, there's still songs floating around out there. So, my buddy Jeff Reed, we wrote several, and he called me not long ago, and there's been a little, nothing major to talk about, but there's at least been some interest in one of the songs that we wrote recently. So you never know. It's like a lottery ticket that doesn't expire.
That's right.
So I'm hoping, man, but life is good, buddy.
That's right, man. Well, I'm glad to hear that. And We got Wesley Bourgeois says, "You the man, Rhett G." And then
Back
Farrah
at you,
says, "Love you." So she is watching.
Love you too, baby.
So man, wrap it up, man. She's probably getting. She's probably like, "Get him, tell him you gotta go."
I gotta go. I got to work in the morning. Not me, her, but
yeah, man. So I guess just lastly, man, one of the things that we always try to do as Louisiana country music with these shows is to always try to at least get like one little nugget passed down to the up and comers, I guess. So with all of your experience, do you have like a rule or a tip or two that you would give some of the people that are moving to Nashville now? Maybe they're going into the writers' rooms for the first time, or whatever it might be. Do you have any kind of do's and do nots for them?
you're right. I'll try to give you a quick list. One is what I just said. Try to listen to your internal compass as much as possible, man. Just really try to, because there's people that are full of it and just going to try to, steer you wrong. But just, just really try to pay attention. Get out. You have got to get out and network. That is just crucial, and I think Trent Tomlinson, who was a regular at Losers, he's told me one time, man, it's not so much about, I used to think it was about gigging, and man, if enough people see me, if I gig enough playing in front of people, and I'm not, it can happen that way. But he's saying his thing was, man, write during the day, because that's ultimately kind of where it's going to all end up. Get your catalog built up, try to write with different people to just get different perspectives. Don't think you have to hog all the writer's credit, but yeah, just get out there, talk. Be careful about, how you treat folks, because it can bite you in the butt, And then, just try to write your truth. It doesn't have to be like completely. I've seen songs that were like, overtly, almost too true telling, there's got to be an air of like the literature and the prose and the poetry, but in a nutshell, speak your truth. I think, Taylor Swift is a perfect example. Like her or not, she writes to her demographic very well, and she finds a way to tell her truth in a way that it's digestible as a pop song, without ever coming across as overly I'm not a fan of everything, but I just finished watching the documentary on the Eras thing, and just massively impressive. I'm impressed. I was always more impressed with her ability as a writer and her, her business savvy, and she's just a smart girl, more than say she's like this phenomenal vocalist or anything like that, but she's legit, whether you want to believe it or not. And that's, I was trying to think of any last minute things I could tell you, but just, get out, hit the writers' rooms, just do the networking and do the work yourself. That's another one. Don't expect people. At some point you kind of, got to find maybe the person with the financial backing or something to give you the leg up per se. But what I did find more than anything is you had to be the one out there hitting the pavement and hustling and doing it building as much of your thing, your social media base and all that as you can on your own. And then, there's I don't know if I'm going to get the quote right, but it's like something to the effect of, success is when preparation and opportunity meet. You've got to be prepared. And if you're slacking in the preparation, if you hadn't done the time, or, you've been lazy, or just kind of, like I said, phoning it in, or just being, sloughing, not caring, you'll miss out on some opportunities. So just be professional, be prepared, and just, try to bring your A game all the time, because you never know who's going to be listening or who you're going to come across.
Good advice, man. Good advice. I'll let you out of here, but we got Bubba says, "Wish I could have made it Sunday." We wish you could have made it too. Mike Stone says we need more writers rounds around Baton Rouge. That's 100%, and that's one of the things that we're trying to bring to the table as Louisiana country music is even more of what we did the other night, and hopefully that'll lead other genres to do things too. And then Bubba's, I guess, his tip, he says, if you drop a guitar in Nashville, the guy picking it up plays better than you. Fair enough.
That's
right?
Funny.
That's it's
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
close to
Man.
truth. Well, man,
Yes, sir.
what can your fans expect, man? What do you hope? What do you hope that not just musically, but what do you hope life looks like for you in 2026? What can we expect from you?
Man, I'll be playing, mostly in the local regional area. I do the kind of standard, um, the Superior Grills in the area, Ben 77, and there's a number of other. I just picked up a place, Lanyap Seafood, Steak and Seafood on Blue Bonnet, and just some a lot of regular local places, private parties, and just events, things like that. Um, what else? I'm not writing a whole lot. Just life doesn't, I feel like I've got just hard drives, just full of stuff, and I still enjoy being creative. It's just for, my main focus is just kind of trying to get set up in, like I said, for retirement and kind of being able to prepare for that, 15, 20 years down the road. And but yeah, I mean, I'm still playing locally. And honestly, I don't know. The positivity page is a thing. Something in me. I'm still, like I said, every morning on the way to work, I listen to. I've been really on the audiobooks are amazing because I don't make enough time to sit down and actually physically read a book. But I listen about 15, 20 minutes every morning of books in the personal growth field, and it would be amazing. I don't know if that's going to happen in 2026, but if I could somehow get some type of cohesive program, I see myself. I don't know that I would ever be that good. I'm never going to say never, but like the people that I love, the Wayne Dyer, Eckhart Tolle, Anthony Robbins, people that I'm learning all this stuff from that are my favorites that really say things that hit home from my perspective and helping get a better perspective on life. I think the world could use a lot of it. So that little Facebook group is just tiny nuggets. And maybe one of these years I'll have enough. It'll be cohesive enough all the way around to put some type of program, a package together to maybe go. I don't know if I would be some type of motivational speaker or talker, but I love what I've learned and what it does for me. And I think everybody in the world, it's out there, but not everybody takes the time to try to get into it or digest it. So if I could ever do that for, anybody, maybe that's further on down the line. But right now, just doing the day gig, playing some music and living my life with my girl,
Well, that seed's planted and you just keep watering it, like you said.
Absolutely, buddy.
Well, man, I appreciate you coming in, man, and hopefully Fair's not too mad at me for keeping you a little extra. But we were having a good time, and we had some good guys in the comment, and they were enjoying it, so we appreciate it. And we'll have to get you up here to
Man,
Natchez.
thank y'all for tuning in, buddy.
I'll have to get you up here.
We'd love to. Farrah and I were just talking. Yeah, she's never. I played in Natchez a lot when I was in the '90s. I had a band that played up there at the Pearl Street Cellar. I don't think it's still there, but we did a bunch of gigs there. But if Farrah's never been, I said, man, maybe we go do a bed and breakfast up there or something one of these days.
I get you into something here. I'll get you fixed up. We'll talk.
Sure, we will.
Yeah. Well, Fair Ron Amity said Fair will keep him grounded.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Well, brother, let me. I'll let you out of here, man, and I will see you soon, man. I definitely appreciate you joining us.
Man, thank you so much. Much love to you and everybody that tuned in. Thank y'all, and Happy New Year, buddy. And hopefully we can do it again, man.
Talk to you soon, brother.
All right, buddy. Have a good night.
All right, man. Good night. All right, guys. We hope you enjoyed the show tonight. Big thank you to Rhett Anthony Glindmeyer for joining us. If you enjoy this. If you enjoyed tonight and you only tuned in for Rhett, I highly encourage you to start joining in every Tuesday night, because every Tuesday night we have somebody that's really interesting, somebody from Louisiana, whether it be a artist or a writer or a musician or an industry person, whoever it may be. So many cool people and so many cool stories. So I encourage you to put this on your alarm and just come hang with us every Tuesday night and get to learn meet these people and learn more about them like I get to do every Tuesday. But thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to follow, like, share, comment, and help us show the world what Louisiana country music and all of our people are all about. Just thank you again. God bless all the Louisiana folks out there. Enjoy the rest of your week. Be safe tomorrow. Enjoy the New Year's. Happy New Year's. We'll see you next Tuesday night right here on Louisiana Country Music Live.